What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to take a little bit of a look at all the new discards which are going to be coming out in Age of Ascension, the second wave of Keyforge. We've looked at a couple of houses. I'll pop links to those videos in the description. This is not an in-depth look at every card because that would take literally hours. What we're going to do is run through all the new discards and give a quick opinion about them. So, let's start off with a lovely little action card, Banish. Gives you an ember, and you put an enemy creature into your opponent's archives. Gets them off the field, and if you're really lucky, you can try and make sure that you're putting it in their archives when they're trying to archive a different house, and then when they draw into it, it's clogging up their hand. Binding Irons is a ridiculous card. It is the only card in the first two waves that chains your opponent. It puts 3 chains on them. Now, to be fair, all it's really doing is making them draw a couple fewer cards, 3 in total, but it's still the only card we've seen that can chain your opponent. That's ridiculous. Cull the Weak gives you an ember bonus and you destroy the least powerful enemy creature. But bearing in mind a lot of really good creatures with great abilities are incredibly weak, that could be fun. Exhume I like very much indeed. It gives you an ember bonus, and you choose a creature in your discard pile, and you may play that creature as if it belonged to the active house and was in your hand. Basically, pick any creature in your discard pile and play it regardless of what house you've got active. Yeah, that sounds pretty ridiculous. Gub. Gub is a 1 power, 0 armor creature, which is very weak. But when it's not on a flank, it gets 5 extra power and taunt. Taunt means you cannot attack its neighbors, you have to attack it. Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous, ladies and gentlemen. That's pretty great. Just, you know, get it not on a flank, would you? We've got Misery Exploit, an action card, and when you play it, you gain 1 ember for each damaged enemy creature. And it just really depends what you've got here. It really honestly does. If you can spread a bunch of damage and then do this, it's great. If you've got a bunch of powerful creatures which can attack, but not quite KO, but then somehow survive because they've got loads of armor or something, this is good. Outside of that, as great as it looks, and it does look amazing, and there will be turns where you use this and go nuts, there are going to be plenty of turns where this just doesn't do enough. Make no mistake about it though, this is really good ember generation in a house which traditionally does not have much good ember generation. Not Finished With You is an action card that gives you an ember bonus, and you shuffle any number of creatures from your discard pile into your deck. Could be any creature from any house. You can only get the ones you want while leaving the rest of them. I think that's pretty good. Streak is a 2 power, 0 armor creature with elusive. The first time it's attacked each turn, no damage is dealt. And while it's not on a flank, your opponent refills their hand to 1 fewer card during that part of the turn where they draw cards. This is literally succubus, but if it's on a flank, you lose this. Tesmal is a 2 power, 0 armor creature with elusive, so you got to attack it twice to take it down. And when you reap, you choose a house. Your opponent cannot choose that house as their active house on their next turn. And this also is extremely reminiscent of a card from Wave 1. It's Restringuntus. Although, to be fair, Restringuntus was for as long as it's in play. This is just once. But having said that, it's when you reap, so you can choose a different house every time. Yeah, that's pretty redonk, ladies and gentlemen. That's pretty redonk. Unlocked Gateway. Now, it's got Omega, that new keyword skill, which means it must be the final card that you play during your turn, which means it's going to be good. And when you play, you destroy each creature. You don't even get any chains. You just destroy each creature. But because it's got to be the last card you play, it means any creatures you play during your turn also get destroyed. That's how they balance it. Yerk. Yerk's a fun little card, 4 power, 0 armor, and when you play, you discard a card from your hand. The thing is, remember you can only play and discard cards of the active house. So what you're really doing here is clearing your hand of non-active house cards so you can draw more cards at the end of your turn. Cool. Angwish. For each damage on Angwish, your opponent's keys cost +1 Ember. You're a 6 power, 0 armor creature, so you could, in theory, have your opponent playing 5 extra Ember just to forge a key. The thing is, your opponent can play around this a lot of the time quite easily just by not attacking until they can KO. I love that it's got 6 power, but I think this might be too easy to play around most of the time. Bloodshard Imp. After a creature reaps, its controller must sacrifice it. Yeah, we are really going after reaping in Age of Ascension. There are so many cards that stop you reaping, or make you not want to reap, or say you can reap once but only once. You can reap, sure, but then you sacrifice it. Thing to remember about Bloodshard Imp, it's double-sided. It's not an enemy creature, it's a creature. Be very careful with this one. Bronze Key Imp. 2 power, 0 armor, elusive. Players cannot forge their first key. That's ridiculous! If you forged your first key and your opponent hasn't, they can't. They've got to take Bronze Key Imp out. And you've got elusive, so it takes 2 attacks to do so. There are plenty of creatures we saw in Call of the Archons that your opponent has to go after. But oh my goodness, this one takes the biscuit. Now similarly, we've got Silver Key Imp. I'm sorry, I'm going out of order. This is the only time I'm going to do it. Exactly the same, but your opponent cannot forge their second key. And Gold Key Imp, exactly the same, but your opponent cannot forge their third key. Neither can you, incidentally. It's amazing. Gold Key Imp you put down if your opponent's ahead and they've already forged 2. You just need to get it off the field before you need to forge your third key. But if you forge your second key, play down Silver Key Imp. If you forged your first, play down Bronze Key Imp. Gold Key Imp is the awkward one because you need to put it down to stop your opponent winning and then get it off the field before you want to forge your third key. But it stops your opponent forging. And if they need to forge their first key, you play down Bronze Key Imp and fine, they can get it off the field, but not till they've already had minimum 1 turn where they weren't able to forge their first key. Old Yerk, 5 power, 0 armor, and you choose and discard 2 cards from your hand. Again, you're really just clearing out cards so that you can draw more at the end of your turn. Pain Reaction. You get an Ember bonus, and it's an action. And when you play it, you deal 2 damage to an enemy creature. And if you destroy the creature doing this, you deal 2 damage to each of its creature's neighbors. Sounds like fun. Scullion, 7 power, 2 armor. That's a beastly creature. But when you play it, you have to sacrifice a friendly creature. Because creatures that are super beastly always have some kind of downside like this. Soul Keeper is an upgrade that gives you an Ember bonus, and the creature gains Destroyed. Destroy the most powerful enemy creature. It's a fun little upgrade, which means if you're going down, you're taking your opponent's most powerful creature with you. I can get on board with that. Spider, spelt with 3 Ys, 2 power, 0 armor. It's got Skirmish, so when you start the fight, you don't take any damage. And you gain Poison while attacking a flank creature. Okay, so it's best against a flank, but here's the thing. Skirmish means you don't take any damage back. Poison means if you do any damage, you get an instant destroy. You're going to destroy a lot of stuff with Spider. Just attack the flank. Ancient Yerk. I mean, look, you can probably see where this is going. 6 power, 1 more, 0 armor, and when you play it, you choose and discard 3 cards from your hand. All the Yerks just get 1 more power and discard 1 more card when you play them. Again, we're clearing out our hand. Nephru is another creature, 4 power, 0 armor, and each time a creature is destroyed, its owner gains 1 Ember. Which might sound a little bit familiar because we saw this in Wave 1 with Soul Snatcher. And with Tolus. Yeah, apparently this is just something that this cards like to do. Cool. Onyx Knight, 4 power, 0 armor. When you play it, you destroy each creature with odd power. Again, you've got to really pick your time to play this, but if played at the right time, it's a great board wipe. Orb of Invidious. After a creature reaps, you stun it. It's an artifact, it gives you an Ember bonus, and what a shock, ladies and gentlemen. It stops your opponent reaping or makes it more difficult. Come on, we've seen lots of this by now, ladies and gentlemen. We've seen lots of this. We're also getting Ortanu the Chained. It's a 7 power, 0 armor creature. When you reap, you return each copy of Ortanu's binding from your discard pile to your hand. And for each one returned this way, you deal 2 damage to a creature with 2 damage splash. Sounds really good, but Ortanu's binding, you deal 2 damage to a friendly creature. Now, you do get an Ember bonus, so then Ortanu the Chained means you get to essentially redo those Ember bonuses, which is awesome. But, yeah, when you play it, you got to damage your own creatures, which can be a pain. Can work out beautifully, can be a pain. Shadow of Dis is an action that gives you an Ember bonus, and when you play it until your next turn, enemy creatures' text boxes are considered blank. Except for traits. That's ridiculous, ladies and gentlemen. That's over the top. It turns off everything. No skirmish, no elusive, nothing. No skills. This is just nuts. They can still fight, but without anything like skirmish or elusive. And they can still reap without any reaping bonuses they may otherwise be getting. Yeah, this is one of the most interesting cards in the set. Shard of Pain, every house is getting a shard. It's an artifact with an action that does something for each shard you have. I mean, it's this. It does 1 damage to an enemy creature for each friendly shard. I don't think that's particularly unexpected. Good, mind you. Suppose it depends how many shards you've got. And finally, Wretched Dole. It's an artifact and it's got an action. If there is a Doom counter in play, destroy all creatures with Doom counters. Otherwise, put a Doom counter on a creature. Now look, I can't speak for future waves, but between Call of the Archons and Age of Ascension, there are no other ways to put Doom counters into play. You put a Doom counter down, and then you destroy them using this. There's no extra mechanic here. There's nothing else going on. Wretched Dole is your lot. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Some really, really fun creatures. I mean, I like to point out a couple at the end of the video, and it's the Key Imps and Shadow of Dis. They are the ones... Oh, and Binding Irons. I forgot about that. They are the ones that really stand out to me here as over-the-top, phenomenal, interesting cards. But I'd like to know which ones stand out to you. So please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, and follow me on Twitter at the Wossy, where we talk about games like Keyforge and a whole bunch of others. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.